Can I ask you something, Alex?
Of course.
What if I told you that one small habit, something that takes only 5 minutes a day, could completely change your future?
5 minutes? That sounds impossible.
That's what most people think. They believe success comes from one big moment, one lucky opportunity, or one perfect decision.
But in reality, our lives are often changed by the small things we do every single day.
Exactly. A person doesn't become fluent in English in one day.
A healthy person doesn't become healthy after exercising once.
And nobody achieves their dreams overnight.
It's the small habits, repeated every day, that create big results.
So today, we're going to have a simple English conversation about small habits that can truly change your life.
We'll talk about our own habits, the habits that helped us grow, the habits we wish we had started earlier, and how even tiny changes can make a huge difference.
So grab a cup of coffee, relax, listen carefully, and let's improve your English together. Hi, Alex. How are you today?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm feeling great, actually. I've been thinking a lot about habits recently.
Really? Why habits?
Because I've realized something interesting. People always ask, how can I change my life? But very few people ask, what small habit should I start today?
That's true. Everyone wants big results, but not everyone wants to do the small things that lead to those results.
Exactly. Let me ask you a question. When you wake up in the morning, what's the very first thing you do?
Should I tell the truth?
Always.
The first thing I usually do is check my phone. Messages, notifications, social media, everything.
I used to do the same thing, but one day I realized before I even got out of bed, my mind was already full of information.
That's exactly how I feel. Sometimes I haven't even brushed my teeth, but I've already spent 20 minutes scrolling.
And how does that make you feel?
Honestly, a little tired. Sometimes I even feel stressed before my day begins.
I understand. A few months ago, I decided to try something different.
What did you do?
Instead of picking up my phone, I sat quietly for 5 minutes. I stretched a little, I looked out my window. Sometimes I simply enjoyed the morning silence.
Did it really make a difference?
A bigger difference than I expected. My mornings became calmer. I felt more focused, and surprisingly, I became happier.
That's amazing. It's interesting how such a small habit can change the way an entire day feels.
Exactly. People often underestimate small habits, but habits are powerful because we repeat them every day.
Imagine saving just $1 every day. It doesn't seem like much, but after 1 year, you'll have saved hundreds of dollars.
That's a great example. Learning English works the same way. Learning 5 new words today doesn't seem impressive, but imagine learning 5 words every day for a whole year.
That's more than 1,800 new words.
Exactly. And suddenly, your English becomes much stronger, not because you studied for 10 hours in one day, but because you practiced a little every day.
Consistency is more powerful than intensity.
I love that sentence. Can you say it again?
Of course, consistency is more powerful than intensity.
That's something every English learner should remember.
Absolutely. Many people study English for 6 hours on one day, then they don't study again for 2 weeks.
I've seen that happen many times. People get excited, they study a lot, then they become tired, and eventually they stop completely.
Exactly. But studying just 15 minutes every day is often much better.
Because learning becomes part of your daily routine.
Yes, it becomes as normal as brushing your teeth.
Speaking of brushing your teeth, imagine brushing your teeth only once every 2 weeks.
That would be terrible.
Exactly, but many people treat learning English that way.
That's a funny comparison, but it's true.
Can you remember a habit that changed your own life?
Actually, yes. Reading.
Really? Tell me more.
When I was younger, I didn't enjoy reading. I thought reading was boring. I'd rather watch videos all day.
I think many people feel that way.
One day, a friend challenged me. He said, read just 10 pages every day, nothing more.
Only 10 pages?
Yes, at first it felt difficult. Some days I wanted to quit, But after a few weeks, something changed. Reading became enjoyable. Instead of forcing myself, I actually looked forward to it.
That's wonderful. What kind of books did you read?
Mostly simple books. Then I started reading in English, very slowly. Sometimes I only understood half the page, but I kept going.
Did your English improve?
More than I expected. Not only my vocabulary, but also my confidence. I started seeing the same words again and again. Eventually, those words became natural.
That's exactly how language learning works. Repetition is one of the best teachers.
And that's why habits are so important. One lesson doesn't change your life. One book doesn't change your life. One workout doesn't change your life. But repeating those things day after day can completely transform who you become.
Alex, can I ask you another question?
Of course, go ahead.
Why do you think so many people start good habits but stop after just a few days?
That's a really interesting question. I think most people expect results too quickly. They want to see a big change after only a few days. When that doesn't happen, they feel disappointed.
I agree. Imagine planting a small seed today. Would you expect a huge tree tomorrow?
Not at all. You would water it every day, you would protect it, and you would patiently wait for it to grow.
Exactly. But when it comes to our own lives, we're often impatient. We forget that growth takes time.
That's true. Sometimes we give up just before things start getting better.
Have you ever quit a good habit?
Oh, many times. A few years ago, I decided to wake up at 6 o'clock every morning. The first day, I felt amazing. The second day, still good. By the third day, my alarm rang, and I thought, maybe 5 more minutes.
I think we've all said that before.
5 minutes became 30 minutes, 30 minutes became an hour, and after a week, I completely stopped.
So, what did you learn from that experience?
I learned that I was trying to change too much at once. Instead of waking up 2 hours earlier, I should have started with just 15 minutes earlier.
That's such an important lesson. Small changes are easier to keep. Big changes often feel exciting, but they can also feel overwhelming.
Exactly. Sometimes people try to change their entire life in one day. They want to wake up early, exercise, read, study English, eat healthy, drink more water, sleep earlier, all at the same time.
That sounds exhausting.
It really is. Then after a few days, they become tired and quit everything.
Maybe the better question isn't, how can I change my whole life today? Maybe it's, what's one small thing I can do today?
I love that. One small thing. That's all.
Let's talk about English learning. Many people think, I'll study English for 4 hours every Saturday. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think it's much better to study 20 minutes every day. When you practice daily, your brain remembers the language much better.
I completely agree. Learning English is like exercising a muscle. If you use it regularly, it becomes stronger. If you stop for weeks, it becomes weaker.
That's why listening to podcasts can be so helpful. Even if you don't understand every word, you're training your ears. Little by little, English starts to sound more natural.
That's one reason we created this podcast. We wanted people to enjoy learning English, not feel stressed by it.
Exactly. Learning should be enjoyable. When you enjoy the process, you're much more likely to continue.
Can I tell you about another habit that changed my life?
I'd love to hear it.
Every evening before going to bed, I write down 3 good things that happened during my day. Sometimes they're very simple. Maybe I learned a new English word. Maybe someone smiled at me. Maybe I finished a book chapter.
That's a beautiful habit. How has it helped you?
It changed the way I think. Instead of focusing only on problems, I started noticing the good things around me.
That's powerful. Sometimes happiness isn't about having more. Sometimes it's about appreciating what we already have.
Exactly. Gratitude is also a habit. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes.
That reminds me of something my grandfather used to say.
What did he say?
He always said, take care of the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. I didn't understand it when I was younger, but now I think he was right.
I think so too. Life is built one day at a time, one decision at a time, one habit at a time.
Sometimes people ask, what's the secret to success? Maybe there isn't one big secret. Maybe it's simply doing the right things again and again, even when nobody is watching.
That's a wonderful thought. Real success often happens quietly. Nobody sees the hours you spend practicing. Nobody sees the books you read. Nobody sees the mistakes you make while learning. But one day, people notice the results.
And they say, "You're so talented."
Yes, they see the success, but they don't see the hundreds of small habits behind it.
Exactly. Talent is helpful, but consistency is often even more important.
I couldn't agree more. Alex, we've talked about building good habits, but what about bad habits? Do you think it's difficult to break them?
Honestly, yes. Sometimes breaking a bad habit feels even harder than creating a good one.
Why do you think that is?
Because bad habits usually feel comfortable. They don't ask us to make an effort.
Imagine this. After a long day, what's easier? Watching short videos for 2 hours or reading 10 pages of a book? I think most people would choose the videos. Exactly. Our brain likes easy things. It likes comfort. That's completely normal. But the problem is, comfort doesn't always help us grow. That's a really interesting point. Growth often feels uncomfortable at first. Learning a new language, starting a new job, meeting new people, even exercising, they all feel difficult in the beginning. But here's the amazing part. The things that feel difficult today can become easy tomorrow. Exactly. Think about riding a bicycle. The first time, you probably felt nervous. Maybe you even fell a few times. But today, you don't even think about balancing. It happens naturally. That's because practice creates confidence, not only in riding a bicycle, but in almost everything, including English. The first conversation feels scary. The second conversation feels a little easier. After many conversations, speaking becomes natural. That's why people shouldn't wait until they feel confident. Confidence is the result, not the beginning. I love that sentence. Can you repeat it? Of course. Confidence is the result, not the beginning. That's something I wish I had learned much earlier. When I started learning English, I thought, I'll speak when I'm perfect. And were you ever perfect? Of course not. Nobody is. Even today, I still learn something new. That's the beautiful thing about learning. It never really ends. Exactly. Sometimes people think fluent speakers know every English word, but that's impossible. Even native speakers learn new words all the time. That's true. Learning never stops, and that's actually exciting. Can I ask you something? Sure. Have you ever procrastinated? Oh, many times. Really? You seem so organized. I try to be, but sometimes I tell myself, I'll do it tomorrow. Then tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next month. I think everyone has experienced that. What about you? I used to procrastinate a lot, especially when a task felt difficult. Instead of starting, I'd clean my room, I'd make coffee, I'd check my phone. Basically, I'd do anything except the important task. That sounds familiar. Then I learned something called the 2-minute rule. I've heard of that. Can you explain it? Of course. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. And if a task feels too big, start by doing just 2 minutes of it. Usually, once you've started, it's much easier to continue. That's brilliant. Starting is often the hardest part. Exactly. Instead of saying, I have to study for 1 hour, tell yourself, I'll study for just 5 minutes. And most of the time, those 5 minutes become 15, then 30, sometimes even an hour. Because the hardest part isn't studying, the hardest part is beginning. That's such a valuable lesson. Sometimes we make our goals look too big. Yes, we scare ourselves before we even begin. Maybe someone watching this wants to speak English confidently, but keeps saying, I'll start tomorrow. I'd say your future self is waiting for the decision you make today, Not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. Beautifully said. Because every day we delay, we're also delaying our progress. Exactly. One small action today is better than one perfect plan tomorrow. I completely agree. Sometimes people spend weeks planning, but never actually begin. Planning is important, but action is what changes your life. Alex, do you know another habit that helped me? What's that? I stopped comparing myself with other people. That must have been difficult. It was. Social media makes comparison so easy. You see people speaking perfect English, traveling, getting promotions, and you feel behind. I've felt that too. But we usually compare our everyday life with someone else's best moments. That's not fair. Exactly. Instead of comparing yourself to someone else, compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Maybe yesterday you knew 10 English words. Today you know 15. That's progress. Maybe yesterday you were afraid to speak. Today you said one sentence. That's progress too. Small wins deserve celebration because small wins create big victories. Motivation won't always be there, but habits don't always need motivation. They just need consistency. Some days you'll feel tired, some days you'll feel motivated, but you keep showing up anyway. Alex, if someone wants to change their life but doesn't know where to start, what should they do? Very simple. Don't try to change your whole life today. Just change today. Today is all you have. Tomorrow isn't here yet. Yesterday is gone. But today is full of possibilities. That's peaceful to think about. Instead of asking, how will I become fluent? Ask, what can I do today? Maybe 5 new words. Maybe 1 page. Maybe 1 podcast. Or maybe 1 spoken sentence. Small actions, big future. Brick by brick. Habit by habit. Day by day. Here's a short story. 2 friends want to improve their lives. One changes everything overnight. Wakes up at 5, studies for hours, exercising, reading, everything at once. And they last 3 days, then quit. And the second friend? 1 small promise, 10 minutes of reading daily. That's it. After a month, it becomes a habit. Then they add more slowly, and over time, their life completely changes. That shows success is quiet, not dramatic. Alex, let's give our listeners a challenge. Great idea. For the next 30 days, just 15 minutes a day to improve yourself. English practice, reading, walking, writing, anything. Just don't break the habit. If you miss a day, start again. Don't quit. Before we end, let's share today's phrase, little by little. It means progress happens slowly over time. I'm improving my English little by little. And that's exactly how habits work. We often wait for big moments, but life changes through small daily actions. Slow progress is still progress. One day, you'll realize those small habits changed everything. We'd love to know, what's one habit you're starting this month? Tell us in the comments. And if this helped you, share it with a friend. Subscribe to Fexorg Fluency for more English practice. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, small habits create big changes. See you next time.